US President-elect Trump has threatened to impose 100% tariffs on BRICS nations if they attempt to create a rival currency to the US dollar. However, the feasibility of such a move depends on US laws and international trade agreements. While Trump has used tariffs as a negotiation tactic before, implementing such a drastic measure could have significant economic repercussions. Trump had said on social media website Truth Social, "The idea that BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We require a commitment from these countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty US dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful US economy." The original BRICS members, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, account for 37.3% of the world's GDP, against the G7's 29.6%. The new BRICS Plus members, which add countries like Argentina, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE, now account for nearly one-fourth of global trade. This expansion enhances BRICS' ability to challenge Western-dominated global institutions and promote mutual economic development among emerging markets. BRICS hasn't adopted a common currency yet. They proposed BRICS Pay, a digital payment system using blockchain to reduce reliance on the US dollar. A unified BRICS currency is still far from becoming a reality, facing challenges from diverse economic policies. At the August 2023 Johannesburg Summit, BRICS committed to boosting trade in national currencies.
The substantive part of trade and economic exchanges and discussions that have been a part of BRICS discussion have so far, in a major way, focused on how to increase trade in respective national currencies.
BRICS would be exploring several strategies to counter Trump's tariff threats. BRICS nations will likely increase trade in their local currencies. They will also form stronger economic alliances within the global south. India's EAM told industry representatives that relations between India and the US are expected to grow stronger.
Different countries have had their own experiences from the first administration and would presumably draw from that to approach the second. I can state with confidence that the strategic convergences with the United States for India have only grown deeper with time.
Europe plans to increase US imports, including agriculture, LNG, and weapons instead of raising tariffs. US companies might join joint military procurement with EU funds. Several currencies like the euro, yen, pound, renminbi, Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, and Swiss franc are gaining traction against the US dollar. The Reserve Bank of India aims to internationalize the rupee, potentially adding it to the IMF's special drawing rights basket for wider global trade use. The Economic Brief, DD India.
Well, our guests continue to be with us. Let's turn to Dr. Kapoor. Dr. Kapoor, can the US seriously impose these kinds of tariffs without shooting itself in the foot?
Well, I think this is, if you really look at what President Trump is trying to say, is quite what he's trying to do for the local political system, for his local audience. It is a very difficult thing to actually suggest as to what he's doing. Because assuming that he does a tariff of 100%, it is actually going to create a huge issue within the US itself. Look at the kind of inflation that you're really going to be talking about. The very clear thing is going to be that it would start disrupting the global supply chains. We have already seen that if the disruption of global supply chains happen, then it creates a catastrophic system in various sets of economies. So it is not going to happen. And then, of course, high tariffs, what he's saying is that it is intended to create jobs or protecting American jobs. It could be very, very counterproductive because US does not have the wherewithal to create all that manufacturing within that system itself. So I really think it is more like a brash statement rather than actually taking it forward. This is more like a eyeball to eyeball kind of a confrontation, and he's just trying to create a local audience for it. Okay. I don't think in any sane mind this kind of an action would be taken because it would be detrimental. The second thing is that it might happen that they could actually say that, okay, now there is this possibility that does it, but does the American law allow this to happen? Can he impose 100% tariffs on certain set of trades without going to the Senate or the House, etc.? So those are going to be those big questions that will arise. But I think we should not really read too much into this and see that how we are able to improve trade over a period of time, because it is going to this whole new administration is going to create some tremendous opportunities
Okay.
for India per se in being part of the global value chains.
Dr. Palit, regional trade in currencies other than the USD, how successful has BRICS been actually in doing that?
Mark, that's an interesting point that you raised because, I mean, if I could share this with you,
Yeah.
let's try to see where this threat, the perceived threat, is actually coming out of. It's coming out of a concern, and that concern is essentially in the fact that in the last 4 to 5 years, particularly post-COVID, the American dollar has increasingly become a more and more difficult currency for a lot of countries to invoice their trade in. And that is because the dollar has become very hard vis-a-vis the respective national currencies. Now, this is where a country like India, a country like China, and to some extent, even a country like Russia has actually proposed their national currencies as alternatives. So that there are countries like, let's say, for example, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and certain other countries in Southeast Asia who are happy to actually accept the Indian rupee
Right.
as a currency for invoicing their trade vis-a-vis India. And in some cases, it might actually become a bigger operation if such countries look at India as a common hub, or for that matter, China as a common hub for using their national currencies. Now, let's not size up the fact that the digital yuan has already become operational in a lot of wholesale spaces within the country. It's about to get a retail dimension.
Okay.
India is proceeding successfully on digitalization of its own currency, and you might actually see over the next 3 to 4 years a period when several of the BRICS economies, along with other emerging market economies, might start trading more
Yes.
with the rest of the world in their own currencies. As for the partner currencies, these are more efficient options.
Sure.
What that would mean is relatively lesser demand for the American dollar. This does not mean entire de-dollarization. It just means greater choices for the
fair
trading
enough.
world. That
Indeed.
might not be the best of prospects for President Trump. I think he's trying to preempt that possibility and create a kind of an apprehensive scenario looking forward for these countries so that those moves can be nipped in the bud.
Right. Mr. Bhadwa, to what extent can the BRICS Plus actually create a new economic order in a sense that the US president-elect seems to be fearing? Because, I mean, this is almost 1/4 of global trade that they have, and about 37% of GDP.
37% of the GDP and the huge population,
Exactly.
huge consuming class.
Right.
Fortunately, I have been part of this BRICS delegation 4 times.
Okay.
Brazil, Johannesburg last time, and Russia. So it is all the time agenda of the BRICS country to de-dollarize basically somewhere and to have their own currency. But I feel internally very, very difficult, different kind of challenges, different kind of economies. They have strengths of their own, like Brazil is a commodity focused country, and so is Russia, and different dimension. Ours is service-based economy, very difficult to have this BRICS currency. And we have seen in the past also, Trump in last tenure also, when there was talk of de-dollarization by China, I mean, we saw what could happen to the China and China currency. So again, this threat is somewhere real also. I don't say it's just unfounded or twisting of the muscles only, or this thing only, because he has all the time worked with the tariffs. In earlier tenure, and this time 100% definitely it's very, very difficult.
He's just
to
probably,
go
it's just,
but again,
it's just like a, I mean, he's just making a point. He
yeah,
probably
it's
doesn't
making
mean
a
it.
point, and yeah, definitely he's going to work with these tariffs, and especially when there is a talk of de-dollarization by a BRICS country like this.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Mr. Narendra Bhadwa, Dr. Amit Kapoor, and Dr. Amitendu Palit. Thank you very much for joining us and enlightening us on these important subjects.